Tournament of hopes still alive.
This is happening in Auburn, Alabama. We're a football school, but we're also an everything school.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and joining me, as he does after every basketball game here at the Henry Service Company post-game show, Darrell Dapprich. Boy, we never really make it easy, but still Auburn finds a way to win against second worst team in the SEC, 78-74. And I think the silver nugget in all of this is it was close with a few minutes left, and they found a way to win. They found a way to close it out. Was it pretty? No, but it doesn't matter. It's another SEC win, and it keeps your tournament hopes alive.
Yeah, I'm going to try to, first accentuate the positive of this is that with about, 6 minutes left to go in the game, this looked like a very losable game. All the indicators, all the momentum, everything that happens blueprint-wise for an Auburn loss was there. And when you looked at the stats at that moment in the game, the turnovers, Auburn was out of control with those. The rebounding, they were -8. Ole Miss started shooting the basketball better, had a better field goal percentage. We had fouled more. So all those key components of a basketball game, Auburn was losing on the stat sheet. So to find a way to make a run with Green and Broome, when you're basically, in my opinion, not over-dramatizing this, your season's on the line. If you lose this, you're done. I don't think there's no way you go to the NCAA tournament with the schedule you have left. That's a lot of pressure. And so what we've been talking about for a while now is Auburn's inability to close. I get it. It's against a team that's won 2 conference games on your home floor. But Auburn played really poorly at some points during the second half, let them hang around, did not finish or, basically played sloppy and screwed around and let them get back in the game and take the lead. They countered that, Zach, and overcame that down the stretch and finally closed in a close game where everything was there to lose your season. You fell behind. They gutted it up and found a way to win. So that's the positive I would say you take from this.
No question, because we've asked the question over and over and over again, because normally when this happens and the last few minutes of the game go that way, we're bummed. We're like, dang, how did you let this slip away? And it would have been a similar thing. But Wendell closed the game out with free throws. Allen had some moments there. Johni Broome, timid on offense at times, but you take the 19 points on 8 of 13 shooting from the floor there. I mean, it was a good effort in as far as closing it out. Now, should it have been that close, Darrell? No. Like, Auburn's more than 4 points better than Ole Miss. This Ole Miss team's not good. I think it's the second worst team in the SEC. I think South Carolina's worse than them. But oddly enough, South Carolina's got a road win in Rupp against the Wildcats, and it looks like they're tied right now with Alabama at 66 apiece. So, nope, they're up 68-66 on Alabama with 14 seconds left. So that's kind of crazy to think about. We'll talk about the implications of that in a second. But, yeah, so, I mean, this Ole Miss team's not good, but you win, right? And it doesn't matter how you win. As long as you win, you avoid a Q3 loss, a quad 3 loss, and your resume's still okay when you talk about the potential seeding when it's all said and done in 2 weeks.
I agree. I think that, what you just laid out, the scenario in the SEC this year, a Kentucky team that has kind of caught fire and gotten hot and has ascended from 6th or 7th to a solid 4th place in the conference. Lost on their home floor to South Carolina earlier in the year. Those kind of things can just happen. It's rare that it happens at home. And again, Auburn did everything it seemed like they could to try to give this game away with the turnovers and the The rebounding differential. The rebounding thing is the most disappointing thing to me because that, to me, equates to want to. When you're not boxing out, and that possession that we saw that Ole Miss late missed the free throw and had 2 offensive rebounds and hit the 3 to stay alive. When you get the rebound right there and it's over, that cannot happen. That cannot happen. And yeah, I get it. You should not have to hang on against a team like Ole Miss at home. I don't know. Again, I try to look at this as that Auburn played very poorly, did not play a really good basketball game in some key components of stats, and still came away with the win and found a way to win in a game it looked like it could possibly lose and that was close and that would have been a disaster. This isn't one of those games where an opponent snuck up on you and you had like false confidence and you went into this thing relaxed and easy and, laissez-faire. I mean, you knew what was on the line. And maybe they played a little tighter because of that. I don't know. But that one you had to get that one. And now, in my opinion, you've got to get one of the last 3 where you play one of those at home and then 2 on the road. So, I don't know. I don't know. You mentioned it. You just don't know what you're going to get from this basketball team. It's an emotional roller coaster to watch this team. They got the W when they had to get big shots late. They did. They closed, which we had been screaming for a while. Find a way to win a close game. They did. So that's, in my opinion, the only thing positive you can take away from this other than getting a W. You never apologize for winning a game.
Nope.
Never apologize for a dub.
That's right. That's right. Tiff had a comment. I'm trying to find it. Here it is. Tiff says you have to win one of the next 3 to go dancing. I don't know if that's true, Tiff.
I'm hearing it's not. I did a lot of research today just for this segment because I knew people in the chat would be asking this question. And I would say win one of the next 3, you got to worry about it. But I'm not ready to go and say if they don't, they're not in either. There's a good possibility. I'm just saying if you want to solidify it and leave no doubt win one of 3, the matrix out there and all the metrics say that winning tonight put Auburn in the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you.
Because of who you're playing down the stretch from a net standpoint. Yeah.
I'm with you, Tiff. It feels like Auburn needs one more, right? Just to kind of say, okay, here we are. But a lot of the people that do the whole, bracketology stuff and the analytics, they all say Auburn needed one more. And Auburn got it tonight. We'll see if that changes. I'm with you, Darrell and Tiff. Like, I want one more. Heck, I want 3 more. I don't think I'm going to get it. But, I'd love 1 or 2 more. And we'll certainly see what happens. And, look, we've talked about it before. Is Kentucky winnable? Sure.
Yeah.
Is Alabama winnable right now?
It's more winnable now than it was a week ago. I'm not
there's
saying
no question.
I'm not saying with any confidence that but I'm just saying it's not as daunting.
They're in overtime with South Carolina right now.
And
South
with
Carolina
everything
stinks.
And with everything that's gone on this last week, it's got to be a distraction.
There's no telling how they respond. Now, Alabama's a better basketball team. Like, let's just be very clear.
They are.
But
and they're playing at home against Auburn, and so they should win that game. They should be favored. I expect Auburn to not win that game. But I don't feel it's
a weird situation, though.
Yeah, impossible or daunting as it was maybe a week ago.
Yeah. And then Tennessee at home, man, the more games Tennessee plays, the more I'm like, no, I think I think they're trending down just kind of like we are, if I'm being honest with you.
I think I'd be disappointed at this point right now if Auburn doesn't win that game at home. I would be I wouldn't be like, oh, yay, we won. I would be like, man, I would expect to win that game, and if Auburn didn't, I would be disappointed. The Tennessee.
That's right. And then, like, Vandy losing today helps us because they were the 5 seed and we were the 6 seed. And so they dropped. They're 8-7 in conference now. We're 9-6. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so we'd be the 5 seed right now. And we're tied with Tennessee, Darrell. And
you
so
see, that's just huge. Yeah, well, Tennessee, but Tennessee could drop below us, and Auburn could slide into the 4 spot.
Yeah, who else does Tennessee play? Because that matters, right?
Because you got Arkansas there. Vanderbilt, by losing to LSU tonight, drops a game behind Auburn. I suspected they were going to come back to earth a little bit. You've got the Tennessee game, which would be a head-to-head. If you beat them, you might slide into that 4th spot ahead of them.
Yeah, you need some other things to happen because I just don't anticipate Auburn winning out to Tennessee, right? You don't either. You just said that. So Tennessee's schedule is easier down the stretch. South Carolina, Arkansas, and then they go to Auburn. So we'll see. I mean, South Carolina's beating teams that are better than them, or giving fits to teams that are better than them. So we'll see how they play. But that's tough. That's a tough situation. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, all we can do, and this is fun to just kind of speculate, right? We don't know for sure. It's just we look at things like BPI indicators and projections, and I don't look at lines. I look more at those percentages to win. And I think Auburn will be the underdog in all of its last 3 games.
I bet they're favored against Tennessee.
Well, I just think Tennessee gets too much love. They get too much benefit of the doubt. Zach, let's talk about this. They've lost 5 out of their last 7, and I suspect if they win Saturday, which will be 5 out of their last 8, they won't fall past 15 in the polls. And to me, any other team in the SEC, including Auburn, if they lose 5 of 8, they're dropping out of the poll. I mean, they lost 4 of 6 and just barely dropped out of the top 10, and they were 11. So going into this game that they lost yesterday against Texas A&M. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be very interesting at the top with that big game. I mean, the Auburn, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas A&M game, the last Saturday of the season, in my opinion, is going to have major ramifications 1 through 4.
What if Tennessee just quietly wins the league? How crazy would that be? And it
You mean A&M?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Whatever I said. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it would be one of those where they just were under the radar and they just kept winning. And, they got to where they put themselves in a position if they're tied with Alabama or not. I mean, even if Alabama's up a game, right? And Texas A&M was to win that game, then you go head to head and all that. So
that'd be wild.
It's interesting. It's going to be a crazy finish. But everything I've seen from Jerry Palm to Joe Lunardi to the ESPN brackets to everything has, I think, 7 SEC teams getting in. Mississippi State kind of has fallen off that bubble with that loss yesterday. So to Missouri. So I saw 7 teams in, and Auburn would be one of them.
So those 7, I guess, are Alabama, A&M, Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn,
Arkansas, Missouri.
Yeah, there you go. And Auburn has either competed with or beaten several of those teams.
It's funny, perception and how we view things and how their ebb and flows of a season. After the Georgia game, we did our live podcast, and you put up a stat or a question for everybody in the chat that said, would you take 9-9 right now? And everybody, jumped all over that. Yes, I'd take 9-9 right now. And Auburn right now is 9-6. So 9-9 would feel like a big disappointment, wouldn't it? I mean, I felt like all along 10-8, 20-11 were the numbers that Auburn was going to hit, and that's very doable. And I think anything else at this point is gravy. You steal one against Kentucky or in Tuscaloosa and then beat Tennessee, you have, in my opinion, kind of exceeded expectations for the year.
Right. So it's heating up again, Darrell. And we saw a sign at the game that says, "Hottie, it's hottie in here." You may get home and it's a little hottie in your house because your HVAC's not working. Your AC, you go to turn your AC on and it doesn't work. You know who I'm calling. Who are you calling?
Henry Service Company, man, all day long.
Easy. That's what I'm saying. And it's obviously HVAC, plumbing, electrical, doesn't matter what it is. They've got you covered. Rumor has it they fixed your internet connection from our last show. Darrell, that's what our live chat was saying. They can do anything. They can absolutely do anything. Our friends at Henry Service Company, doesn't matter when you call them, doesn't matter what day it is, what time of the day it is, they have you covered. So be sure to give some love to our friends at Henry Service Company. And it doesn't matter if it's residential or commercial. Darrell, you guys use them at your company. And it sounds like they do a great job taking care of some really big and important pieces of machinery. So give them a call if you're in the Montgomery Tri-County area, 334-288-2700. Alabama license number 00021. All right, let's look at some of your comments and questions. Harrison with a great point. Henry Service Company elite, like Joe Flacco. Playoff Joe Flacco, I assume, because
Joe Flacco is the biggest stiff of a quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Yikes! Not in the playoffs though.
He's a clown.
He's not a clown.
I have bitterness towards Joe Flacco. There's two reasons, and people will do research and figure it out.
War Eagle Wyoming says, I wish our guards were as smooth as Zach. I don't know who Zach with an H is. War Eagle Wyoming. Zach? Is that what you're saying? Zach's segues into Henry's ad reads. So what did you think about guard play tonight? Because, look, Wendell, 23 points. KD, 4 points on 4 shots. Like, he's actually been a lot worse. That's fine. Trey scored on, like, the weirdest bounce off of a rim that I've ever seen. And then Zepp scored 5 points on 2 shots. Like, you take that. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
you got, 27 from your guards? I'd take that all day long. Of course, it was Wendell heavy. I think that was better, and I think it was guard play was better just by the sake of Wendell Green carrying the guards. I wanted to see Berman get more. I mean, he came in and did some good things from a rebounding standpoint, but he's got to hit some shots. He's not of any value coming off the bench if he doesn't hit shots. I mean, that's just the truth. That's what he's there for. That's his role. That's what he needs to do. Auburn getting 8 bench points, to me, they got to do better than that. I think Ole Miss their bench probably had more points. You can't do that. You can't do that in a game at home. I mean, you got to be at least 13, 14, 15 bench points, and Auburn did not have that again. They got again the key indicators. I will say this: field goal percentage. Auburn shot 48%. They made one more basket, one more field goal than Ole Miss. And how big was that one more make? They also were almost identical in 3-point shooting. They both hit 6 threes. But where Auburn won this game, and not by much, Ole Miss made 20 free throws. Auburn made 22. So, I mean, you talk about that one extra field goal and those 2 extra free throws, and look at in a 4-point game, that's huge. And in a game like this, every little point in possession matters.
Right. People in the live chat pointing out, I guess Alabama just beat out South Carolina. I bet that was a crazy game to watch. So that doesn't really impact the standings after all. So you still got Alabama at the 1 seed currently. You've got A&M at the 2 seed, Kentucky at the 3, and then Tennessee and Auburn are 4-5, both tied at 9 and 6 currently. So we'll see. I like Auburn's spot right now, but I don't know. These next 2 games before Tennessee comes to town are brutal. Like, we'll see. And I think Kentucky's winnable. Like, I really do. And I was watching them a little bit when they were playing Florida earlier, and it's like they're beatable. Like, we're a lot better. I think we're better than Florida is. So,
yeah, it's all about style when you get into these matchups and you start to figure out your opponent and how they play. Certain teams, obviously, we've talked about that. Teams with big guards that can get to the rim have been given Auburn fits all year. Guards that are quick, and like to stay outside on the perimeter and shoot threes, Auburn's got a little better chance against guys like that. And where Auburn's got an advantage on points in the paint, and this is one of the few years other than Sheboy, I think Auburn's got some a little bit better depth at forward with Jaylin Williams and Broome. Maybe they can take advantage and get some points in the paint. In my opinion, you're going to have to be at least a +10 Saturday in the paint, and you're going to have to kind of get guard play like you got tonight. If you do that, you got a chance.
This live chat is extremely savage. I can't put most of these comments on the screen.
Yeah.
Brent's pushing back, saying not playing in Rupp. Let's be real. I mean, we've won twice there. We've won twice there, like ever, right?
Yeah, I love Brent, but I could tell you guys right now that it's nighttime, and Brent would come on here and say it's daytime. He just loves to tell me the opposite of what I say. It's beautiful. Love it, Brent. But no,
I think in this case, he's got a good point, though, Darrell.
What I'm saying is, and I'll go ahead and reiterate it and say it again.
Sure.
Auburn in Rupp, if they shoot 50%, almost like they did tonight, and get plus 10 points in the paint and get good guard play, meaning all their guards combined for 28 like they did tonight, they absolutely have a chance to win in Rupp. Why wouldn't they? What Kentucky isn't, Purdue or Houston or Alabama on the road. I mean, they've lost to South Carolina. It's not that we haven't seen it before. I mean, it's just I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not predicting it by any means. Let me make that very clear. And maybe that's where there's some confusion. I'm just saying what I think would have to happen. See what I'm saying? For Auburn to stand a chance in Rupp. I'm not predicting that it will.
Brent says that he loves you. Do you want to say anything back to him?
Yeah.
Do you love him too?
Yeah, absolutely. I prefaced it by saying that. I prefaced it by saying I love Brent. But, right.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Wes says Kentucky isn't flawless, but the reason they're good is because of Case and Wallace.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't understand. I guess I'm not communicating properly or enunciating. People saying, come on, you watch this team on the road. I did not predict Auburn was going to go on the road and beat Kentucky. I just laid out a plan or a blueprint or a template for them to even have a chance what they had to do. And if they do those things, they have a chance.
Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver of all time, says Jaylin Williams and Chris Livingston is going to be a cool matchup. Very similar play style. Yeah, it's
Great
just
point.
what
they are. Yeah.
But like what Jaylin Williams shows up, right? I mean, that's going to kind of be it.
That's a guy that averages 11 points a game, and you look at that and go, wow, that's solid. But you kind of feel in your gut that he should be averaging about 14 a game, right? You think that there's more to get. You think there's more of a ceiling there. That's what I think. I think that, 11 is solid, but he should be getting you 13 or 14. I just think he's got a higher bar that he's not reaching.
Ryan Bowman is booging this evening. We're about to go 3-0, y'all. I'm feeling it. All three opponents are struggling in one way or another. We've got this. I love it, Ryan. I love it.
Yeah,
Warrior of Wyoming, who doesn't know how to spell my name, asked more likely 0-3 or 3-0. This is an easy one for me.
More likely is 0-3.
Yeah, sadly, that is correct.
I think War Eagle Wyoming gets confused because he always makes those jokes and calls you Josh, right? He does. He'll sign off and say Josh, that little inside joke. So him saying that so much, the joke's on him because he spelled your name wrong.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's a good point.
I think the other thing, too, that I want to clarify with the PSA, a public service announcement tonight, because I think some people were a little bit kind of on, just in suspense as to what happened to me last week. For the record, my wife, who I love, unplugged our internet. So you guys have her.
Because
at
halftime, we connected to test a few things, and she was giving you tech advice. And then halfway through the show, she unplugged something that she thought was the TV.
She thought it was the Fire Stick. The Amazon Fire Stick. And I'm watching it. All of a sudden, I'm getting a black screen, and I'm freaking out, and I'm connected to my phone.
Yeah.
I get off the air. I go out there, and she kind of does this.
How's the Fire Stick and the Ethernet? How does that?
I don't know. But I immediately called Zach, and just because I had to share that with him. He didn't answer, and then he texted me 15 minutes later. He's like, "Everything okay?" And I'm like, "Oh, you won't believe it. Miss Tech Savvy unplugged something."
Yeah,
it's like a vacation where Chevy Chase unplugs the plug and the lights.
We're playing with your microphone. She's like, "Darrell, it's not plugged in." You're like, "Yes, it is, honey." Yes.
Yeah. I was blaming my son. I was like, what did my son do? He went live and kicked me out.
All right. Jeff says he's asking you something. Hey,
sure.
Darrell, did you notice Pat Adams calling the 21.5-hour Tennessee Texas A&M game Tuesday night? His game.
Absolutely. He didn't get the nickname Hourglass Pat Adams for nothing, because it is like sand going through the hourglass. He's 2.5-hour Pat is his nickname. 2-hour Addy, because that's one of those dudes, along with TV Teddy, that just loves to be seen on TV. So the more calls he makes, the more the camera's going to go to him.
Who's the player of the game tonight? Wendell, right?
Wendell. Yeah, and he made some. Look, not only the points, But I look at things like closing it out, the clutch free throws. I mean, every free throw turned out to be absolute. Remember when he hit the crucial. 2 and I said, oh, now it takes 2 3-pointers to beat you? Well, Ole Miss got one of those 3 on an offensive bit. So that goes to show you he closed it out, had some clutch free throws, and had a lot of points and did not have, very many turnovers. Really handled himself well tonight. So,
yeah.
I wish
know, man.
Like those. I just saw the greatest. But what was I know that was the best. I'm just going to say this: War Eagle Wyoming knows. I'm attributing to him. That was the best one of the night. That was the best one, and it took me a second to get it. But that wins.
Y'all are wrong. Y'all are wrong for that. So I saw several people on Twitter and in the live chat kind of throwing shade at Allen Flanigan. Yeah. And I didn't watch the game tonight and be like, yeah, he's the issue. That just never really crossed my mind.
Yeah.
What did you think of Allen?
I thought he had a really nice game. I think he had, let's just look at his stat line: 11 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. He did have 2 turnovers. He had one that didn't go to him, went to Wendell because he wasn't paying attention to a little bounce pass where he tried to go backdoor. But that's an error of, trying to do something, not omission. That's him trying to do a backdoor cut and actually moving without the basketball. That's an effort error, that caused a turnover. You don't mind seeing that when guys are moving, trying to get open, back cutting, and that kind of thing. I thought his game was solid. I think that I've said this before, and people can, have their own opinions on it. I think his dunks are momentum changers.
Oh my gosh!
I think they're hype. Yeah, they're hype machines. I think they get the team up. They get the team energized. I think it can change momentum and flow in a game when he does that. I've just always felt that way. Having been live at basketball games a lot of times, I think nothing gets the crowd excited and hyped and behind your team than dunks. It brings people to their feet. Mm-hmm. If they're not a bunch of blue hairs with
or when you're on the road, it silences it.
It absolutely steals steals their soul. Yes, it makes them sit back down if they are standing up. It absolutely does. So I think that they are, they only count for 2 points, but I think they're an emphatic statement a lot of times.
Yeah, Carey pointing out cannot continue to get out rebounded. Not blocking out. Yeah, I mean, especially with Auburn, getting defensive rebounds. They are allowing too many offensive rebounds to the opposing team.
They're about to face the best offensive rebounder in the league Saturday in Sheway.
He's great.
He has the most offensive rebounds in the league. So he's going to get his anyway, a lot like Barkley did in the 80s. Even if you plan for him and scheme for him, he's still going to get some offensive rebounds. So if you get lazy and don't use proper technique, he could get 8 or 9.
And the frustrating thing about this, and I guess it's disheartening, is it doesn't matter where we are in the rotation. It doesn't really change regardless of who's down low. It doesn't matter if it's Johni and Jaylin at the 4 and the 5, or if it's Dylan. It doesn't matter who's in there. It still seems like we're always just giving it up. Sometimes it doesn't seem like we can grab the basketball, like Austin Wiley flashback. Sometimes it seems like it is positioning, but even when they are boxing out, they just bat the ball back up in the air too often. And it's just that's frustrating. And it doesn't matter who's in from a personnel standpoint. It just always seems to be the case.
You want to let a team hang around that's not as good as you on your home floor, get out rebounded by 10 and have more turnovers. And that's the recipe to almost get beat and let a team hang around. If Auburn takes care of those 2 aspects of the game tonight, it's a double-digit win. So that's puzzling and concerning, but at the same time, you can point to it and go, just clean that up and we're fine. And then you can go back and say, even despite that, we found a way to win and finally close.
Yep. If anybody has any more comments or questions that we can read on the air, go ahead and do that. We'll wrap up in the next few minutes here. But all right, give me your prediction. Last 3, and you can drop that in the live chat. What do you think what's your prediction over the last 3 games? I'm thinking 1 and 2. I think you beat Tennessee. I think you lose the 2 road games.
I do too. And I think how you lose those 2 road games, if you do, are going to be very, very important on how you play. Because if you play well and just get beat by a better team or a team that plays better than you that particular night, you can live with that. And that gives you momentum that you need to go into the Tennessee game. If you play poorly and, aren't in it, it's not competitive. And that's one thing we can say about Auburn this year. It's very rare, even on the road, that they go somewhere and they're not competitive. They're not in the game. So that's what I would look for Saturday right out of the gate. It's going to set a tone. If Auburn can go on the road and play well against Kentucky, but just come up short because Kentucky played better and like say hit a bunch of threes or something, then I think that Auburn goes into Tuscaloosa with a lot more confidence. If they don't, it can snowball.
Jesse saying, I still think Dillon and Broome in at the same time would be a good rotation.
As do I.
I just don't know how you rotate out of it.
That's a good point, but you're going to have to, you move Williams to the 4.
Yeah, but you got to keep Dillon or Broome in, though, for you just got to keep them in for the original set, and then you've got to keep them in when you have them both on the floor, and you've got to keep the same guy in again. I don't know how you rotate out of it.
You start out with them playing significant minutes together, and then you have to give one a blow and have him come off the floor and leave one in, and then the other one comes in off the floor comes off the bench for him, gives him a blow, and then they go back in together, and then at the same time. You have to separate it and kind of space it apart to where it's segments of the game. They're not going to be able to play side by side a majority of the minutes. You're just looking for some segments, maybe half of the ball game, having them on the floor at the same time to see how that works.
Yeah, that seems like a lot.
And you may have to go with the 3-guard lineup. You may have to, go ahead and let a smaller guard play the 3 or something like that.
Is that worth it? I mean, that's like where we kind of get on here and complain the most about. Do we want 3 guards on the floor at the same time?
It depends on what guards, because I saw a pretty effective rotation in a couple of games where it was like Wendell, Trey, and Berman.
Yeah, but if you have Dillon at the 4 in this scenario that we're talking about,
I'd have him at the 5.
I
would never play Dillon at the 4.
Okay, sure. The offense is still kind of I don't really know. I don't really feel great about that. I'm just going to be honest with you.
I just think when you play a big lineup, it may be worth trotting it out in segments just to see if they can neutralize some offensive rebounds. Because if you're getting killed on the boards like that and you got Cardwell and Broome rebounding, I think that alleviates some of those offensive rebounds, even if it's in stretches. Yeah. I mean, think about it. If you could do that for maybe 8 minutes of the game, have them both on the floor, and take away in those 8 minutes 5 offensive rebounds for the opponent, that turns out to be pretty big. That's 5 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
And no, not War Eagle, Wyoming. Absolutely not. Stretch time.
Stretch time. Yes. I love Stretch Akingbola.
He's just not played enough minutes to make an impact. It's not.
I want him to play, but only because we're up by.
Yeah, a bunch. You can't throw him into the fire like that. It's just not fair.
I mean, we've tried that. It didn't work. It didn't work. Darrell, how can people give you some love, brother?
Well, there's a variety of ways. You can follow me on Twitter, Dap6410. On Monday mornings at 7:10, I'm on Auburn Open Like this morning with Ben Taylor. Ooh. And then later on that afternoon at 1:40, 1:35, I'm on 106.7 and 107.5, the Max Roundtable with Doug Amos, and I do a 20-minute segment with him as well.
Sweet. Thank you so much to Henry Service Company for allowing us to do this and talk about the wins and, unfortunately, at times talk about the losses. Be sure to give them any kind of call for any kind of problem that you may need. That number, 334-288-2700. Alabama license number 00021. A lot of folks in the live chat chiming in how they're a great company. You can trust them. They're not going to take advantage of you. They're people you can trust. And you don't have to worry. Give them a call, and they've got it. They've got it after that. So you can follow me on Twitter at @Blackerby. You can find all my written work at auburndaily.com. And we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.